If you were raised by an emotionally immature, toxic, abusive mother that would teach you that you're not really worthy the way that you are and you had to constantly earn her love, it is possible that now in your adult life you struggle, and you struggle a lot. And it's also possible that as you're realizing the kind of mother that you had, that you're questioning, who would you be if you had had a different mother, a loving and supportive mother, a normal mother, a good enough mother? And although, asking what if may not necessarily always be good for us because we can't really change the past, I'm here to talk about today to tell you that you're not wrong to think that you would have been a different woman had you had a supportive mother. Because the kind of mother that we have and the parents in general that we have and the upbringing that we have will definitely influence so much of who we think we are and what we believe we deserve. So of course, had you been raised by a loving, supportive, kind mother, you would have possibly been a different woman. And in this video, what we're going to talk about is what possibilities were out there for you. And also, of course, that even though we can't really change the past, maybe there's still time for you to become the woman you were meant to be. So narcissistic mothers and the way that they raise you is it's a quite torturous childhood and a quite torturous experience that of course leaves you scarred and makes your childhood this place where you're just trying to survive. You're not thriving, you're not growing, you're not nurtured, you're just trying to survive. And the common experience of daughters raised by these mothers is that they're constantly subjected to criticism, right? She will dismiss your talents and ignore your needs and your emotions and shame you out of them. She will withhold affection, praise, and support just because. She will compare you unfavorably, always unfavorably, to others and or to this impossible standard that you can never reach. She will undermine your confidence and self-belief, should you dare to have any, especially when you're younger and you really believe in yourself. She will break that down. She will reject and punish your individuality and your self-expression. You being your own person is like the worst thing you can do to her. And it's a sign of disrespect. You wanting to live the life that you have is a sign of disrespect. She will make you feel guilty for being happy. She will hate on you when you succeed and will be jealous of you when you succeed and will figure out a way to make you feel horribly after every success by undermining it, comparing herself to you, telling you that you wouldn't have done it if it wasn't for her. She knows how to take away your joy and your pride. With very few words, she knows exactly how to do that. She expects from you, and she always expected perfection from you, while it's everything you were doing in the interim, right? You learning would never count. Like none of your efforts would be acknowledged in nothing. And on top of that, she would use you for her own emotional needs, parentify you. I have a video on parentification. I'm gonna link it here. And lastly, it's not even, this isn't even an extensive list. If you want to hear more about what the narcissistic mother does to you, check out my video on the narcissistic mother. But the most important thing that she does, and all of the daughters of narcissistic mothers have experienced, is that she withdraws her love and approval as punishment. So you're loved only under conditions. She gives you the silent treatment and doesn't talk to you to punish you, and she emotionally abandons you in that way for, I don't know, days, weeks, even months at a time, leaving you wondering if you ever exist, if you even exist, if you even matter. So really, the experience of being raised with such a woman that is doing all these things And at the same time, you want to be connected to her because she's your mother and you love her and you need her. It's a top level type of torture that a child's psyche has to be exposed to and somehow survive, right? But how do we survive it? We just survive it. We don't really thrive and grow through it. So if you're raised by such a mother, it is no wonder that you're not wondering, who would I be if I had a different mother? And that's not just to blame the mother, because obviously she's to blame. She's to be held accountable. She's responsible for doing all that. At the same time, how could you not have ended up struggling the way that you have if she wasn't mothering you the way that she did? You didn't do this on your own, right? Many people try to invalidate your current failures as something that is completely your responsibility. And I want to be very clear. Your life right now is your responsibility. Along with everything that you consider as a limitation, it's going to be your responsibility. But how you got here, it's not your responsibility or your fault, right? Those who raised you treated you in such ways that brought you now to struggle the way that you are. And on top of all the struggles that you went through since your childhood until today, you're going to have to go through a process of healing all of that. Because if not, you can't recover and live the life that you want to live, right? It's almost like they created all these limitations that then became self-imposed limitations because they hijacked your brain. They hijacked your mind. They poisoned your psyche. They destroyed your sense of worth so much. And now you're out in the world emotionally limping and challenged and debilitated. And it feels like it's all your fault, but it's not. It's just now it's your responsibility to heal out of it. It's not your fault. If you had had a loving mother, just to put a bit of a contrast here, which is basically just a good enough mother that gets it, I think the percentage is about 40% of the time. Like we're not even talking about perfection here, right? But we're talking about women who raise their kids in opposition to what the narcissistic mother does. She will accept you for who you are without needing you to be perfect. Like the underlying feeling in your relationship to her is that she accepts you as you are, right? She will provide steady and consistent affection, warmth, and support. So you know when you need support, you go there, and most of the time you get it. And when you don't get it, you don't instead get a massive wound to heal from. You don't hear something absolutely horrible. Maybe she won't be available, but she won't deliberately hurt you or say something horrible to you, right? And these good enough mothers will allow you to have your own voice, will affirm your talents and ideas, and just let you be. Let you be a child, let you be you. She will encourage individuality and independence. She won't feel offended that you're becoming your own person. She actually encourages that. She will celebrate, genuinely celebrate your joy and success without underlying resentment or trying to minimize it or trying to cancel it out or try to steal it from you. She will overall make you feel safe, seen, and validated. So it will be a known feeling for you. It's not like science fiction to feel seen and for people to be safe around, to be safe for you enough to be seen by, right? And most importantly, she will support your emotional world without having to burden you with her own emotional needs. So she will understand that she's the adult and you are the child. She won't be feeling so entitled to your loyalty, right? And to your blind love, and using that so that she can feel that somebody's parenting her. And most importantly, the good enough mother, the mother that will show up to motherhood the exact opposite way the narcissistic mother would, even if it's not a perfect mother, just a kind and loving overall mother that you don't have to recover from so much. At least there will be some failings, but we're not talking about these monumental woundings. But the most important thing that she would do is she would teach you that you deserve love unconditionally from her, right? From her. And that will in turn model you to love yourself unconditionally too, to accept yourself, to be kind and empathic with yourself. She will teach you, and by doing that, she will teach you that you're worthy, right? So can you think of what kind of different person you would have become if you had grown up to feel validated, worthy, and your mother wasn't your biggest enemy? Like you didn't have to worry about all these things. What would you be focused on, right? What would you be thinking? What would you be pursuing, right? Who would you have been if you were raised by a mother who wasn't your worst enemy and your first bully? You would have felt safe in your own skin. You would have believed to be good enough without having to prove it. You would have trusted in yourself more, in your ideas, in your talents. You would have dared to fail because failure is part of growth and learning, and you would know that instead of thinking that failure equals rejection. You wouldn't be addicted to perfectionism or people pleasing. You would just feel comfortable to exist as yourself. You would take up space. You wouldn't constantly try to fix yourself. You wouldn't feel guilty all the time. You wouldn't walk around this world feeling utterly ashamed for who you are because of all that toxic shame that she instilled in you. You would have felt joy and pride in your achievements without fearing that someone will hate you because of them. You would feel comfortable to being seen by others, and that would really help in your relationships. You would possibly have better relationships with other women and with everybody. But most importantly, you would have had a better relationship with yourself, a safe relationship with yourself. And so your experience, your internal experience, wouldn't be this hostile, hateful, judgmental, toxic space that she created in you by how she treated you. She wouldn't have been, and she wouldn't have colonized your brain, and you would have been on the driver's seat of your life. You wouldn't filter and edit yourself constantly based on her judgments and projections and abuse. Something very important to know about abuse is that we are resilient, right? As you have seen in yourself, and we are discovering all the time. As humans, we're very resilient. And we're resilient in ways that are unconscious. Like from little children, we already know, oh, nobody's noticing me in this house unless I do something for them. Let me just be nicer and kinder and fix things and save others and clean the house and do this and people please and do great at school. Like we are very resourceful in a way that is really powerful, right? It's highly adaptive because we need to feel worthy. We need to somehow expect some type of mirroring from the world that we are of value. And for that to happen, we will do all sorts of things if that is not accessible to us just because of who we are, right? We essentially, before we're even 7 or 10 years old, we develop a false self that helps us navigate the failing environments that raise us enough so that we kind of gather, or at least are in the hope that we have some type of worth, and there's some level of connection that we can get, and there's some level of belonging, and therefore some safety. But for a little young mind to do all of these processes, to become really someone else based on their environment and not just naturally evolve to who they are, it's a lot of work, right? It's a lot of internal processing that constantly happens. You're in the room, and instead of just thinking about how joyful you are to be drawing, you're wondering, what's my mom thinking? What's happening? What should I do next? Oh no, what if she discovers that? Like, you're scared all the time. You're hypervigilant. You're always watching her. She becomes the center of your attention in a way that you're constantly fixated on her so that you can stay safe, her and her moods and her reactions. So all of that takes up so much space that would be used in your creativity, right? In nurturing your talents and your skills, in going in endeavors for your curiosity, right? To be curious, to explore, to be a child, really. And within all of these processes, you would find yourself, right? You would find what you're good at, what you love doing. You would find joy. You will access so much. That's why, childhood is so important, because you have the luxury to lean back and just enjoy. And by enjoying and being curious and learning, you come out of childhood pretty attuned with your talents and with who you are. The essence of who you are gets cultivated when you're in a safe environment that allows you to be, right? But in environments like the ones that I mentioned, with mothers like that doesn't happen. So instead of having the luxury of being nurtured into the adult that you will become, you're being abused, and on top of that, controlled and molded into the person they want you to become. So on top of you becoming someone else in order to survive, then they force you to become whoever they want you to be, so that they can feel good and give you love and acceptance that doesn't really last long, but you keep chasing it for your entire life. Which means that as you grow older, at some point you're like, what is this life that I'm living? It's not even mine. None of what I'm doing is me. I don't enjoy anything. I was forced to just live this life the way others wanted it. And we've never really, in that process, learned not only who we are, but how to get to who we want to be, right? It's difficult because we were never allowed to fail. We didn't have enough self-confidence because of that, and because of how badly we were made to feel about who we were. So we don't try and we don't dream. So yes, we would have become a totally different person had we had parents that didn't put us and subject us through this torture, right? Through this emotional torture. And yes, they probably had it worse, but also that's not the point here. It's not a competition. Who had it worse? This is more so that you take your own individual story and give yourself another chance at life. And I'm going to explain how we're going to do that. So you know now what kind of mother you had, and actually I've just listed a few things. You know much more than me because you were there and you know your experience. And I've also introduced what a good enough mother would do, right? Just as a model of what it would look like. So your job with all of this is to do the following. I want you to envision the woman that you wanted to become. The dream version of yourself, the self-actualized version of yourself that you imagine. I will say I want you to be cautious and not just create a version of a woman that you just see on social media. Really connect with that. And maybe if it'll help you to say, if I was my own daughter, if I had a daughter just like me, what would I envision her to grow into, right? What's the potential I would see in her, right? Who would I really see her as? And I say this in other videos too, and I think it's a great practice. If you find a picture of yourself when you're younger, it's going to help you connect to your younger self more, right? And what you'll do is take that picture or remember yourself and really look at yourself and wonder, what is this little girl's potential? Who was she? What did she love doing? What was she good at? Who can she become, right? As a matter of fact, in Heal, when we start the journey, it's a long journey with 21 sessions. But the first, I think the session 2 actually is a session where we're meeting our light within. And I think that when we heal, we always focus on our traumatized parts, but anchoring ourselves in the parts that hold life, in our eternal inner child, the archetype of the inner child that really holds our capacity for joy and curiosity, and it's the essence of who we are, is very important. That's why I put it in the beginning of the journey. I want people to ground themselves in who they really are. You're not just what happened to you. You're not just the traumatized child that went through all of that abuse. You're also that too. You hold a light within that you need to access, right? And so we do that through Heal, but you can also do it with yourself, right? To connect to that little girl and make a list of the attributes that you see, the skills that you think she has, her potentials, and all of that. And then I want you to ask yourself, if I was to mother and coach this little girl to become the woman that she's meant to become. What would I need to tell her? What would I need to teach her? What would she have to do? And how can I create an environment in which I will help her and support her on her way to that? And that is the process of truly reparenting yourself. Because we can't turn back time, literally. But we can do this. We can embody the version of the mother that we needed while seeing ourselves with the eyes of the adult that we have now, and we see who we were, not through projections, not through expectations, not through hatred like your mother, but to really see her with all of her potentials and help her and nurture her into growing into the woman that you know she can become. And see how that goes for you. Because you may not have gotten the good enough mother, unfortunately, for many reasons that even if we know these reasons, they don't hurt less, right? Knowing that she was traumatized too, knowing that we're conditioned, socialized in a patriarchal society that has taught women to hate themselves, and women hate each other eventually. And we're all growing up in environments that don't nurture our self-worth. And we're coming out of our childhoods feeling unworthy and broken and defeated, and we chase our worth. And then we go into this wheel of life with no sense of worth and meaning besides being defined by others, right? We're already looking externally, trying to get validation and all that. We can understand the bigger picture. It doesn't hurt less, but it makes more sense, right? To understand that. It depersonalizes it. But it still happened to us. It still happened to you, and it's still impacting you. So you may not have had the chance for the good enough mother. But you now, with what we know about inner child work, about the subconscious mind, about how healing works, how somatically we're able to process and release pain and memories of the past, and that will open us up to different experiences. So with everything that we know, yes, you may not have been lucky enough to have the privilege of a good enough mother, but you live at a time where you can become that good enough mother for yourself. And I know it's work, and it would be a necessary work. As essentially, you should have been raised by someone else, and now you have to do it yourself. But it is what it is. And as I said in the beginning, it may not be your fault. None of what happened was your fault. You had no way of stopping it or making it not happen. It was the way it was. But right now, healing out of it is entirely your responsibility. And it's not a burden. It's almost possibly a privilege to know that there's a way to make how we feel about ourselves feel better, kinder, and to know what it's like to be loved unconditionally, at least by ourselves. Because that's what trauma steals from us, right? Our sense of worth, but also the child who is being abused doesn't end up hating the parent that is abusing them. It always ends up hating themselves. So trace it back. Remember who you were and find that light within. And then become the mother that will help that light become a fire so big that it takes over this world. That your light shines so bright that it almost makes up for all the years that you were just hiding. I'll see you soon.